Hello, this is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know that there will be probably our regular crew and hopefully others hopping on here in just a moment. But if you would, please hit that like and subscribe button if you have not. I know most of you watching probably the live stream have subscribed, but those of you that will come check it out after it has been posted, after the live stream is over, please hit that like and subscribe button. There are many hundreds of you that watch the show on a weekly basis. Hundreds of you, not dozens, hundreds of you that watch the show on a weekly basis that have not subscribed. How do we know? Well, YouTube tells us. They give us those exact numbers. So if you would, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We got a basketball episode again tonight. Obviously, big time for the basketball season. This is the pinnacle. This is the peak. This is the March Madness. I'm not even a big basketball guy, as most of you know, of course, as Rage knows. But, I have tuned in and kept up with it so far. And I'll continue to keep up with it as long as the Big Ten can stay alive. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. Can the Big Ten advance further? They certainly have got some tough matchups. But thank you for watching. As you know, many of you, I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host, Jay, the voice of rage. And let's get into it, Jay. How have things been going for you the last week or so? Things going good?
Yeah, Michael, things have been going swell over here. I just got back from my trip to Raleigh. Let me fix my mic here, make sure it's set up all right. And I got to be honest, man, this was actually our first family trip with a group of 4. And man, oh man, I was exhausted, like really, 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 really tired, like so tired. In fact, that I was watching basketball on Saturday that I had to go to sleep and I had to kept setting alarms on Saturday night not Saturday night, last night, Sunday night, because it felt like a Saturday. Sunday night when I was watching the basketball games, and I just got so tired I fell asleep on the couch, and I set an alarm to every 30 minutes from whatever time just to keep checking scores. And yeah, man, it was a really exhausting trip, but it was a fun time because it was the first time in 14 years that I attended some NCAA tournament games. So that was fun. Saw UConn for the first time ever play in person. Go Huskies. Even though they lost, it sucks. But saw them play, saw Florida, saw Duke, who's probably the best team in the country. So yeah, man, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. Just kind of hung out at the house or around the house, took kids to practices, and watched a little bit of the NCAA tournament. Not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, man. Michael, did you fill out a bracket? I guess my first question is, did you fill out an actual bracket?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
How about you?
No, I filled out a bracket, and I guess I'm still kind of alive in my tournament, little friends and family little group thing. I'm still kind of alive in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how to say this, but she's not my sister-in-law, but she's going to be, I think. I think my brother-in-law and her are going to get married, but there's that whole little, they don't know what they're doing type thing. I don't know. I just call her my sister-in-law. I guess I'll call her my sister-in-law. Her family is a bunch of millionaires. So they just have disposable income. So there is no buy-in to this bracket is what I'm basically saying. Like, there's no buy-in. They basically just pay somebody. They basically, like, if you win the bracket, you win $500. That's it. There's no
nice.
add 10, $20. Like, that's cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good for them. Good for them. Like, her parents are like well-established people, and yeah, that's really all I know. But yeah, they do well for themselves, and they just do that because they can.
Your soon-to-be sister-in-law, maybe.
Soon to be, yeah. I don't really know what to call her. I don't really know.
Yeah,
I don't. She
you're
doesn't listen to this show, so it's all good.
all right, cool.
Man. So, but what I was getting at with this is, I'm not doing very well. But the whole like twisted irony behind the March Madness is that people who don't watch a single game all year can fill out a bracket and win a lot of money or do well.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on with my wife. She's like on pace to win the thing. I think she's probably going to win. If Duke wins a national championship, which unfortunately, I think they're going to, she's going to win that bracket.
Yeah, I watched Duke. They've got what is the guy? Is it Flag? Is that the guy? The big
Cooper Flag.
Yeah, Cooper Flag. Yeah, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, no, he is.
Yeah. So yeah, they definitely probably are the favorite, but long way to go. This is a not necessarily a sprint. It's more like not necessarily a marathon either, but it's somewhere in between. Got a lot of games to win. Maybe the hardest national championship in the major college sports. Of course, the baseball's pretty hard too. You got to win a lot of games deep in the tournament, but they're all hard now at this point with the football. But yeah, anything can happen. That's why it is March Madness. We got quite a few SEC Big Ten matchups coming up. I know we're probably going to discuss those. We've got a SEC versus SEC matchup, the neighboring border states of Kentucky, one of my alma maters, and University of Tennessee, a state that I used to live in. So I probably will be tuning in and watching that game for sure. But the Big Ten SEC matchups, some compelling games, and also some disappointing games by the Big Ten. I see we have somebody says Big Ten's in trouble. Damn Wisconsin. Well, yeah, you could throw Illinois into that as well. They certainly didn't go out and take care of business. Slip and Skippy says his bracket's already busted and that the Buckeyes are going to the White House.
I was going to elaborate on that, but I was going to say, I went to the tournament this weekend. I've already been to like the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. I went 14 years ago when Cleveland hosted. That was the year that Ohio State had, they had the number 1 seed and they got upset by Kentucky in the Sweet 16 back when Thad used to really choke hard. I went in Cleveland for those first 2 rounds. I remember I went all day for like a set of like 4 games, and my God, that was exhausting. I'll never do that ever. I'll never do that ever again. It was like, that's kind of like a one-time thing. But I've been to a college football playoff semifinal. I've been to the NCAA tournament first 2 round games. I've been to a college football national championship game now. And really all that's left is I need to attend a Final Four, which I was going to attend in 2020 before COVID shut everything down, Michael. There's like a big story in regards to that, I feel like. But like, I was actually going to propose to my wife at the Final Four in 2020.
No.
Yeah.
COVID threw a wrench in those plans.
Yeah, it did. I was really scrambling there for a while. I was like, what do I do? But yeah, I was actually going to do that. We were going to go, and we had already had the tickets bought. I got refunded for it and everything. But that really sucked, man. That really sucked, man. I was thinking about the other day about how life was so different 5 years ago. Man, that is a nightmare. I really don't want to think about that, but it just happened to pop in my mind.
Well, it's one of those things that people still talk about because it's just hard to fathom how societies and most of the world could be so unbelievably wrong. and react in such a, really an overreaction, and the ways that they reacted did not help the situation at all. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It's something that everybody remembers. There's the world before COVID and there's the world after COVID. It was one of those defining moments, as ridiculous as that sounds. It's almost like two different worlds. The world after COVID has never been the same. Almost kind of like, not exactly the same, but like there was a world before 9/11 and a world after 9/11. Things changed. The airports changed. We're still, dealing with the airport changes from, the 9/11, but COVID even more so. Just everything's a bit different. It hasn't gone back to, it's gone back to normal, but it's just not the same. It's like there's before and there's after, and we are still navigating the after.
Yes, we unfortunately are. Man, oh man. We do need to address like Slip and Skippy's comment. Ohio State is going to the White House. I did see that was announced, Michael. That's really cool. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad. Ryan Day, a registered Democrat, I'll give him a golf clap for not doing something ridiculous and, turning down the invite or something. So I think it's cool that they're going. It's always,
I find it ironic. Weren't there teams turning down the White House when Trump was in office the first time?
Yes. Yeah, several.
You never had any of that stuff happen under Osama Obama's bitch ass.
No, and I didn't really keep up with whether it I know it didn't happen under Biden, but I don't know if every team got invited or what. But yeah, cool that the Buckeyes are going. I think they went in 2014 as well.
I'm pretty sure Tom Brady skipped out once on the White House when Obama was there. He did.
He did, but he also skipped out on the Trump. He didn't go to either one. He was playing.
Okay.
He was playing Switzerland. He was playing entirely neutral.
Interesting. Why not just go to both then?
I don't know, because he had the MAGA hat in his locker in 2015 and drew some attention to it and was asked some questions about it, and he, chose to say, "I'll answer football questions." So Trump says that they're friends, and Trump says that Brady just didn't have the courage to stand behind him, unlike Belichick and Kraft of the Patriots at that time.
Interesting stuff, Michael. So, Michael, good news, because I am Mr. Positivity over here, as we all know. The Big Ten in basketball went 8-0 to start over the weekend in the first round games. I'm sure you saw that. The basketball world knew that. We started 10-0 before we finally had a game lost. So I believe Wisconsin was the first team to lose. Nice little showing there, but then, we went 4-4 in the second round. So I guess my initial thoughts are, what are your, initial impressions of the Big Ten starting undefeated in the first round?
Well, the first round, obviously, exceeded expectations for me. The second round, I think, kind of evened those expectations back out to normal. I think that this is about what we expected, maybe even less. So maybe they still did a bit better. I didn't. Certainly, as the game started, it looked like Texas A&M was going to probably be able to edge out Michigan, but Michigan, they came back and found a way to win. But a couple of games that I thought would go the Big Ten's way didn't. I thought Wisconsin would win, and I was pretty hopeful about Illinois as well.
Yeah, man. The second round was when that's when the bad news started, man. So I guess, I want to start with the good news first. And Michigan fans, what a win. What a win for the conference. What a win over Texas A&M. Thank you so much for at least winning one game against the SEC. Michael, I know we didn't discuss this, but this is kind of like a trivia question, trick question. I don't know. But do you happen to know who the leading scorer for Michigan was on Saturday against Texas A&M?
No, I have no idea.
It was Roddy Gale. Do you know who Roddy Gale is?
No.
Roddy Gale is obviously he's a player for the Michigan Wolverines. 6'4" shooting guard. 6'4" shooting guard who started his career at The Ohio State University. The first 2 years, he was a Buckeye, and I was his biggest fan. I loved Roddy Gale. I loved me some Roddy Gale. He was explosive. He was long. He was a bigger guard, and I love bigger guards. And what do? We fire Holtman, and then we hire Jake Diebler, and Roddy Gale's like, I don't really like this. So he leaves town. Michigan hires a well-known coach in Dusty May, and he skips town and he goes to Michigan. And he, in my opinion, he's their most talented player on their roster. Most talented player on their roster. He was the one who was scoring all the clutch baskets against Texas A&M. He was really they had some other guards too, but he was the most explosive guard on their roster to offset Texas A&M's SEC speed and length. And yeah, man, it's just another black eye to Ohio State and Jake Diebler and Ross Bjork. So I love it, man. The more I keep throwing those haymakers, Roddy Gale, keep making Ohio State look bad. The more Ohio State looks bad, the sooner Jake Diebler is fired. But thank you, Michigan. Best win for the Big Ten thus far. Hopefully there's more to come. Michael and I are cheering for you. Nothing else to be said there. But man, oh man, I was cheering out, like just screaming, so happy that Michigan won that game.
Yeah. Before we get into I was happy myself. I was watching it at like a big sports bar, actually. And so before we get deeper into the Big Ten, how about Calipari and his, fall at Kentucky, inability to, really get anywhere in the tournament last couple of years, and then moves on to obviously Arkansas, and he's back in the Sweet 16 with, clearly a chance to advance.
I'm telling you, man, Arkansas has the second most, and there is an argument to be made. They have the most athletic, but they're at the very least the second most athletic roster in the country behind Duke. And I would love to see that game. Like off the top of my head, I'm not sure if they're on the same side of the bracket or not, but man, oh man, that would be a spectacle because dude, they are long, they are fast, they don't shoot particularly well, and it's Calipari, so they're not well coached either. I know Duke's probably better coached than they are under Shire. Shire, literally took the reins from Mike Krzyzewski. So, he knows what he's doing, unlike Jake Diebler, who took the reins from Chris Holtman, who didn't know what he's doing. So I'm trying to like stay on point here, but as many shots as I can take at Ohio State, I will, because I fucking hate them. I fucking hate them. And I'm not trying to be pissed off right now. So I'm trying to like get a point across here that, I don't know, but it was, that Shire was a good hire. But no, man, Calipari, here's the thing. Kentucky would look really bad had they not made the Sweet 16, but they did make the Sweet 16 because they beat Illinois. And Illinois, man, that team should be the most ashamed of themselves. I know I'm kind of going between good news, bad news, but that team, Illinois Fighting Illini, they should be the ones that are most ashamed of themselves. That was despicable. The unforced turnovers, the lack of attention to detail. Brad Underwood is just not the right guy there in Champaign, but I don't know that he's bad enough to get rid of him, which almost makes them like in a worse position than Ohio State, because they're kind of stuck with a guy whose like ceiling is like the second round. I know they had a great team last year, but they got beat by like 40 points to Connecticut. And I know that it was Connecticut, and I know they were one of the best teams ever last year. But at the same time, if you lose by 40 fucking points, man, that is disgraceful. I don't know what else to say, man.
Yeah. I think the Big Ten is an underdog in every game except for Michigan State. I think they're the only one that's favored out of the matchups.
That is correct, man. That is
Yeah.
correct. Speaking of Michigan State, they didn't look all that good. I really fear their lack of 3-point shooting is about to catch up. I think I made mention of Purdue. I liked what I saw from Purdue. They look good and took care of McNeese State, like they should. But a team that didn't take care. I mean, they won the game, but they didn't really look great. Was Maryland against Colorado State?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, my God, dude, we were a missed travel call away, Michael. I don't know if you happened to saw the shot by Derek Queen at the end, the turnaround.
I did not see that. No.
So Maryland had an inbounds play. They threw it. I forget how they got it to Derek Queen, to be honest with you, but threw it to him, and he traveled. He took 3. I looked at it, and he did travel. He traveled. But, people are trying to say, like, refs don't call that. I'm like, I feel like refs would usually call that, but whatever. He definitely traveled, and he had a bank shot to win the game. So we were one travel call, bank shot away from having a disastrous second round, Michael. A disastrous second round. We should have gone 3-5. Because Maryland just did not look good, man. I don't know what the deal was. They were getting beat on the boards by Colorado State. That didn't make any sense because they have Julian Reese and Derek Queen inside. So they got some good size. I don't know what's up with their coach, man. I don't know. But they're about to run into a Florida Gators team that, do I think they're all that great when I saw them in person in Raleigh? No, I really don't. They don't pass the look test to me. They're definitely not as good as Duke. I would take Arkansas over them and maybe a few other teams as well. But I don't know. Maryland, hopefully that's their one bad game. And that's all I can say. And maybe they play their best game of the season against Florida. But at the same time, Florida might have had a wake-up call against Connecticut. Dan Hurley's the best coach in the country. He drew up some stuff. I thought Connecticut had a good chance of winning that game. They didn't have enough shooting at the end. But, Michael, we have a super chat friend. You want to take it?
We do. Yes. A Bad Gateway. I get my money's worth every time I listen to one of your broadcasts. Worth every dime. Thank you. Well, thank you, Bad Gateway. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate that super chat. Again, reminder, if you super chat, you're guaranteed to get your comment read.
Yes, thank you so much, Bad Gateway. Thank you so much. Again, just thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a faithful listener. We've seen you in here. Love each and every one of you, man. We love our audience.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts, Jay? What are the chances that we can knock off? When I say we, of course, I am referring to the Big Ten. This is an Ohio State / Big Ten podcast. What are the chances that either Michigan State, or Maryland can down one of these SEC teams? Do you think we got a chance to go 1-2? Do you think we have any chance to go 2-3? I mean, 2-1?
So I don't know, man. So here's the thing. So let's just break down the first matchup, Michigan State versus Ole Miss. So I definitely give Michigan State the edge there. I believe we will prevail. I do worry about Ole Miss's 3-point shooting because they actually, can shoot the lights out a little bit. I saw them some against North Carolina. We kind of saw the same against Iowa State, but they're undersized, and Michigan State is really gritty. And, Ole Miss plays really good defense under Chris Beard, who I think when Ohio State fires Jake Diebler, they need to hire Chris Beard. That's my opinion. He's, or him or Billy Donovan or somebody. It has to be a grand slam, somebody who can completely start the program over again. Michigan State's a lot bigger than Ole Miss inside. I believe they will win the rebounding margin. And this game is in Atlanta, so it's going to be an Ole Miss like pseudo home game. It's in SEC country. But yeah, with Michigan State, I just think their grittiness, their toughness, they were the best team in the Big Ten this year, in my opinion. I know Michigan won the tournament, but I will take Michigan State slightly. But so this is where the trouble comes in, man. The trouble comes in here. So obviously we're aware this weekend is like the Big Ten SEC challenge. It's a Herculean challenge to climb. Going 1-2 versus the SEC there, and then Michigan. Here's the thing: if we go 1-2, and Michigan State is the only win, but then they are knocked out by Auburn, who would have also knocked out Michigan. So here's the thing: that would be absolutely beyond devastating to our conference, Michael. That would be the absolute death nail into like everything with the Big Ten is an absolute failure. And it would prove to me everything I've suspected is like the Big Ten's fine in the early round games, but once you get into the second round and Sweet 16, the lack of top end talent and top end coaching rear their ugly heads, and they always just fucking fail. Like Wisconsin, was a prime example of that. Like, BYU played a lot of white guys, by the way, and their white guys were much faster and skilled than Wisconsin's white guys. It's like, even with that being said, Wisconsin had a chance at the end, but I didn't like the play call with the ISO ball with John Tonje. That's not how Wisconsin got there to that point. They mostly run good motion offense. But right now, Michael, the Big Ten sits 1-2 versus the SEC. We forgot to mention UCLA, but they played your boys in Tennessee, and that final score does not show that. It does not show it, but they were never in that game. And I do wonder how long Mick Cronin's leash is. They made the Final Four, I believe, in the COVID year, and they lost on the bank shot to Gonzaga, but they flamed out early ever since then. But, going 1-2 against the SEC this past weekend, not good. I really, really thought Illinois was going to beat Kentucky. And then if we go 1-3 this weekend, we're dead. I mean, I don't know what else to say, Michael. You're from, I don't know if I would call you from the South, but you've lived there a long time. So you tell me, what would that do to the Big Ten?
Well, I can tell you, even down there, they don't really get happy about bragging rights over basketball. Now that they have been toppled in football a couple of years, I have heard a little more noise, them kind of beating their chest over basketball. Well, we're the better conference in basketball. But, during the times I lived there, there was never any real worry when Ohio State or some other Big Ten team went up against an SEC team in basketball, because they just don't, it wasn't a real big deal. Nobody really talked about it. That same kind of rivalry is not really present the way that it is in football.
Paul Feinbaum makes you feel differently, though. He takes every shot he can at the Big Ten under any sport, including baseball. I feel like he's like the voice of SEC athletics, not just SEC football, but basketball and baseball as well.
And it's possible that it's changed over it's been a long time since I lived down there. So maybe that has kind of come around and changed as the SEC has risen in basketball in recent years. But when I was there, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, I do wonder what it's like now, man. It seems like they are beating their chest about basketball, and it's just all the more reason for the Big Ten to turn it around. Michigan fans, get in here. You have to beat Auburn. You have to. I love that you beat Texas A&M, but you have to be able to finish the deal against Auburn. Can we get an all-Michigan Elite Eight game, Michigan State versus Michigan, please? Please?
SW
that would
line,
be great. In Atlanta, and it's in Atlanta. Both teams are playing in Atlanta, Michael.
They are. Yeah, they are. Yeah. SW Lion 26 is not confident of that. He is a Michigan alum and fan. He says Michigan's not going to do it. 1-2 is his prediction. He thinks Michigan State takes one. The other two are going to fall.
Okay. Southwest Lions. So, I mean, Michigan has something that no other team has outside of maybe Duke and Arkansas, and they have some serious size inside. Their game against Texas A&M really, really, really changed when they really beat Texas A&M at their own game, Michael. I just want to make that clear. Texas A&M is all about offensive rebounds, putbacks, playing physical, mucking it up. Well, Michigan said, all right, let's fucking do it. So they put in Danny Wolf, Vlad Golden, and Will Cheddar. So that's 7 feet, and I believe 6'9". And they crushed Texas A&M on the boards, crushed them. And they had the best guard on the floor in Roddy Gale. So, like, Michigan ended up winning by like 10 points or something. I mean, it was kind of like it's like Michigan had the lead, and then Texas A&M had like a 10-point lead, and I was like, oh God, it's over. Like, the Big Ten tournament champion losing to like a mid-tier SEC team. Yeah, it just can't happen. But Michigan prevailed. The victors were valiant in that one, and the victors need to be valiant again. So what I'm asking Michigan and Michigan State fans, Michael, Michigan and Michigan State are both going down. They are taking a trip from the state of Michigan down to Atlanta, Georgia. And awaiting them will be the Auburn Tigers and the Ole Miss running. Is it Ole Miss Rebels or Running Rebels? Is it Rebels, right?
Yeah, Rebels.
Okay. So it's 2 SEC teams, 2 Big Ten teams, 2 Big Ten teams that are big rivals. But here's the thing. Michigan and Michigan State, you need to understand your rivalry will be escalated to the next level if you both win those games. If you both win, your rivalry will be escalated to the next level. You cannot be cheering against one another during your games. You need to be banding together and cheering for one another, because you damn well know that Auburn and Ole Miss are going to be cheering for each one of their teams. You know that, Michael. Would you agree?
No, absolutely.
So you can't have 3 versus 1 in there. It's got to be split 50-50. So, yes, I think Michigan has a chance as well. It's going to be hard. Auburn's very good, but it's not like Auburn was playing great basketball at the end of the year. I saw their first round game. They had some struggles. They played Creighton in the next round, and the Big East has turned out to be a total fraud. And that was kind of back and forth for a while. I believe that Michigan is better than Creighton. And I think it's 55-45 Auburn to Michigan in regards to like percentages to win, not win. So yeah, that's
yeah, I see. You're getting heckled again.
Come on, leave me. Michael, what do you think, man? What do you think? Well, you answer.
Well, I mean, having limited knowledge of the subject, it sure seems like Dusty May would have been a much better hire than Jake Diebler, but our foes up north got him, and he has put together a solid season, winning the Big Ten tournament, going to the Sweet 16, maybe going beyond. Who knows? We'll see. But, I can't knock the guy at this point.
All right, so Slip and Skippy says, last weekend at his hometown bar, there were Alabama and Florida football fans stopping in, taking major shit. Just had to remind them who their daddy was the last 2 years. Oh, yeah. Where is your hometown, Slip and Skippy? What were Alabama and Florida fans doing? Where was that? Where? So Alabama played in Cleveland. Florida played in Raleigh. So where? That's interesting. I don't know. Southwest Lion, I know you're on our side, man. You're like the voice of reason, I feel like, in this chat.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. He can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I remember that Slip and Skippy is from Akron, Toledo. I'm sorry.
Oh, what the hell were Florida and Alabama fans?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is indeed from Toledo. There we go.
Okay. Oh yeah, we need to do that more. What you just did to highlight that, you need to do that again. So when we read off these things, people can see what we're reading off.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think we should start doing that. Yeah, Rage, does Michigan still suck? Is Dusty May still bad? No, he doesn't suck anymore. I don't know what to say. I think he's doing okay. Now, you gotta be competitive at the very least. You can't just like get blown out. If you get blown out by Auburn, there's some serious problems. You have to go in there at enemy territory and be competitive. If you're not competitive, then I'm going to have some serious doubts, because I made it a very clear point. Texas A&M was a mid-tier SEC team. Let's not get it confused that they were a top 4 SEC team. They were not. That was a back and forth game for a while. Michigan great job. You took control at the end. But, if you're the Big Ten tournament champions, I expect you to handle a mid-tier SEC team. This weekend is the weekend to fucking prove it. You have to, at the very least, you have to be competitive with Auburn. There's nothing else. A win would cement Dusty May as a good coach. It would cement him.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a huge win for him there early in his Michigan career. And, we're also seeing, Jay, that, more so the SEC, they're carrying the load for sure with the amount of teams that they got in. But combined, you've got the Big Ten and the SEC equaling almost 70% of the Sweet 16 appearances. So those two conferences continuing to be heavyweights in another sport now. And so that's good. I'm glad to see that. They're definitely the two dominant sports conferences overall at this point, and certainly in football, they are pretty much the two conferences. Basketball's a bit different, but certainly a good showing from the Power Two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the Big 12 has 4 teams in as well.
Okay, so they have 4 as well.
So yeah, the Big 12 has like Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, and I forget the 4th team, man. I
keep forgetting some of this. Like Houston, I'm not associating as a Big 12. Even when I watched the Tennessee UCLA game, Jay, in football, it's like, oh yeah, UCLA Big 10. But when watching the game the other night, during the entire game, I did not associate that this is an SEC Big 10 matchup. I just was not thinking of UCLA basketball, who was very good at times when I was a kid, won a national championship when I was in 6th or 7th or 8th grade, somewhere in there. I don't know. But yeah, just some of these new conference alignments still, kind of slip past me.
That's a good point you make, because I was looking through the list of teams, and I know why I had a Big 12 team escape me, because it's the Arizona Wildcats, who are a Big 12 team now, and they're in the Sweet 16. And, I forgot to say, I got to be honest, I did not watch the Oregon and Arizona game last night because, like I said, I was so fucking tired, man. I was so fucking tired, Michael. I was so fucking tired that I fell asleep on the couch, and I actually missed like some basketball to watch. And that is just not like me, man. I am somebody that is locked in watching every fucking moment of these games. And I didn't watch every moment, man. I don't even think I watched a minute of Oregon UCLA. I saw Oregon jump out to a 25-10 lead. And I'm like, oh, fuck yes. My bracket's going to look good. The Big Ten's going to get another team in. And come to find out, Arizona took control, and I guess Caleb Love just fucking jizzed all over Oregon, and they couldn't stop it. So, whatever. So it was a disgusting performance by the Oregon Ducks, man. It's just Oregon is coming to the Big Ten. They beat their chest, but they just been fucking falling flat on their face in the biggest moments.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was to our advantage that they fell flat on their face in the football playoffs this year as the Buckeyes.
Yeah, fortunate there, but again, for them, that's still like they fucking just did awful in the biggest of moments. And Oregon then in basketball
is one of the Big Ten teams that I'm struggling to root for. Now, I would root for them in the football playoffs if Ohio State was out or whatever. I mean, I would root for them, but they're just a little irritating to me.
Well, I don't know that their fan base,
they're getting a little cocky.
Yeah, they are getting cocky, but they've never won anything in either sport.
No.
They haven't even been to a Final Four in basketball. Not one.
Never?
No, wait, no, that's a lie. Ohio State beat Oregon in the very first NCAA basketball national championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
I believe so.
Well, what year was that?
No, they lost. Did they? Man. Man, I feel like I should know this. I'm going to have to look it up right now. Ohio State, Oregon. First basketball
While you're looking that up, we got a little Duke talk in the chat. No,
Okay.
we've not forgotten about Duke.
1939,
Oh my
Oregon
gosh.
beat Ohio State. So
Wow.
so I don't know if there was a tournament back then or whatever. Again, that was before we were even like cells.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
So
that's before our parents even existed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, no, we haven't forgotten about Duke. They're obviously a powerhouse. They are certainly the team to beat. And yeah, Cooper Flagg is a stud.
yeah, so no, we're not missing on Duke here. No, I saw them in person, and I even said before the tournament that they were the best team that I've seen. And a lot of people had a lot of ACC hate, and I get it, but Duke's kind of like it's like they're so different from the rest of the ACC. I mean, they beat Auburn in the regular season. They have everything you want in a team. They have size and length. I mean, like Michael, listen to this. Their entire starting lineup goes 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", 6'9", 7'2". And then
Yeah.
they bring off the bench like a 6'8", 6'9" guy. And they're just so massive, man. Like their size. The only team that can match them like in size is Arkansas, Michigan a little bit. I would say Michigan, and that's it.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Isn't it amazing how the ACC has fallen in basketball as well? I mean, because it used to be the powerhouse for quite a few years in basketball, and it's clearly taken a nosedive in football and taken a downslide in basketball as well.
From what I understand, and I think I've made mention on this before, but like 5 or 6 years ago, the ACC commissioner or whatever they are, he retired, and the people that have taken the place of him since he's been gone have been terrible. Like the conference has completely fallen off after. I guess he was a former North Carolina AD, and I don't know. He ran that conference well, man. They had a lot of championships, and well, I wouldn't say a lot in football, because when did Florida State join the ACC? Actually, has Florida State always been in the ACC?
I mean, as long as I can remember, the two they won under Bowden were the ACC, and then of course they won the one under Jimbo Fisher as well, and then Clemson got a couple there. So yeah, there for a while, the ACC was not necessarily as good as the Big Ten, top to bottom, but they had multiple programs that had won modern national championships where the Big Ten did not. But they have just really fallen off the map.
I'm gonna tell a quick story here. People can believe this or not, but this is actually the truth. My basketball knowledge comes from the same exact coaching tree that Mike Krzyzewski got his from. Do you want me to explain that to you, Michael?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Ohio State's first basketball, or actually Ohio State's best basketball head coach of all time, and the only time they won the national championship was under a man by the name of Fred Taylor. Best basketball coach in Ohio State history. Well, he recruited so this is back in the days where head coaches were also like assistant coaches for like other teams. So he was the head basketball coach at Ohio State, and I believe he was an assistant baseball coach. And he recruited my grandpa to go play baseball for Ohio State. And my grandpa played baseball for Ohio State and ended up being a team captain. And he actually also played a year of football as well. That was back when athletes played both sports more, but my grandpa, I think, had more of a love for baseball. So he ended up in baseball. I do not know. I actually don't know. I don't know. Maybe my dad will make a comment in here or something. I actually don't know. But so he played baseball for Ohio State. Well, he learned. So, Fred Taylor recruited him to Ohio State, and he would go in and watch Ohio State's practices and learn basketball from Fred Taylor. He would sit in on their meetings. Obviously, he was good friends with Coach Bobby Knight, who Bobby Knight learned from Fred Taylor.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at is my grandpa went on to coach high school basketball and led a team to a high school basketball Final Four. Okay. We know what happened with Bobby Knight. He became like a, I think 3-time national champion at Indiana. And who was under Bobby Knight? I think it was at Army, was Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, man. So like that whole coaching tree right there,
there we go.
I'm the one to go to for the basketball stuff, man. I'm not playing games. That is the truth.
All right. Well, then you are the resident expert on basketball. I will cede that right over to you right now. That was before the coaching tree. Now I definitely give it to you with both hands.
I don't know if I ever told you that story, did I?
I don't think you did.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's move on to these matchups again, man. Maryland and Florida. Again, I would, like the more I look at these matchups, I was scared to death before, but then I look at them again. I'm like, I think the Big Ten actually does have a chance because I'm hoping that Maryland played like their bad game and got it out of the way against Colorado State. Let's hope so, because they look really good in round one, but round one, the team sucked they played against. Again, Florida kind of got a wake-up call against Connecticut too, but I don't see an overly athletic, explosive team in Florida. Yes, they are highly skilled, and Walter Clayton Jr. is, in my opinion, probably the best three-point shooter in the nation, but he can do more than that as well. But they just don't, I don't know. They just don't strike fear into me as like a UConn the last couple years would. Like they're just not, everyone's been picking them, but I think Duke would blast them on a neutral court. Why people think that Florida is as good as Duke, I just don't. I do not see that. I just do not see that. I think Maryland does have a chance, but I don't think they'll win. I'll be cheering hard for them, but I would slant it probably 65-35 Florida to Maryland there, maybe at 60-40. But yeah, that's definitely the matchup we have the least amount of chance in. But don't take that as no chance. That doesn't mean there's no chance, because I'm just not sold on Florida like that.
Yeah, I mean Maryland is they're a 27-win team. They got 27 wins on the year. Obviously got beat by Michigan in the Big Ten title game. They dropped one to Michigan State some time back. They actually dropped one to the Buckeyes. That's not a good look, but they did. And of course lost a few more. I won't go over all of them, but they're a very solid team. They're a very capable team. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Florida play, so I can't really comment on what I think about them, but there's a lot of hype with them.
They just don't, everyone's trying to talk about their size and length, but it's not like it's crazy. It's not Arkansas. It's not Arkansas size and length. It's not Duke. They're not highly explosive athletically. I mean, I thought UConn, I don't know, man. UConn had like a layup on one side and the dude went for reverse, and I don't know why. I feel like that completely changed the game, because up until that point, I think UConn had them. I think they had them. And then once that happened, I mean, it was a home game for Florida and Raleigh, which was weird. It was weird that, like, again, the entire arena was filled with like Florida and Duke fans, but not really any UConn or Baylor fans, which is, I don't know. I talked to people to my right at the game, and they said, I guess a lot of people from Florida have moved up to Raleigh for the tech industry. I guess, the triangle there is like big time into tech and all of that. And I guess I understand, I started looking at all the businesses that are there. It's like tech, super like, it's like this, like, I don't know, but right behind Silicon Valley in California, I guess.
I didn't know that. I mean, that makes sense. I guess they're recruiting talent out of the area, coming out of those major universities there, Duke and North Carolina and NC State, I suppose. So makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike, you want to look at some of these chats before we wrap this show up?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. We got Slip and Skippy. Louisville stunk it up against Creighton. North Carolina was lucky to even make it. Yeah, North Carolina was not a good team. Another Slip and Skippy here. You can probably relate to this, Jay. I remember the days when Ohio State football season was over. I would focus on watching basketball. I miss those days. Jay, do you miss those days?
Hell, man, I was watching basketball alongside football. Just because football was going on doesn't mean I wasn't watching basketball. I was watching basketball Slip and Skippy, like I find the best time of the year in sports is that time around Thanksgiving where all of the holiday hoops tournaments are going on, and it's like the football rivalry weeks. It is like that is the best time of the year in regards to sports. Like I am locked in. I'm not really doing anything else. Like that is the time where you know which conference is good, which conference is bad in basketball. Like the Maui tournament is going on. All of those tournaments are going on. It's a bunch of teams that are playing that are, you know, uh, they're not in conference. It's all the out of conference games. So yeah, that's when I knew the SEC was really good because they kept winning everything. So yeah, no, I'm watching basketball at the beginning, man. I make sure I tune in the beginning. It's when I tune out of basketball probably from, I would say from probably January to like mid-February, late February, and then early March I start paying attention again. So I would say, Michael, I'm probably tuning out of basketball in January and February because I still watch Ohio State, but that's it. That's the only team I'll watch. Because I know at that point, like if I watch in November and December and I watch all the out of conference games, I know who's good, who's bad. I know which conferences to pay attention to, which conferences to not pay attention to. So it's kind of like I pay very close attention at the beginning.
Yeah, I'll get to one more here, Jay, before we hop off. SW line 26, Michigan State is a big statement for the Big Ten here. They can't go losing to Mississippi. Agree. It would be a total, utter disaster for the Big Ten in basketball this year. I don't think that is a understatement. I don't think that's being hyperbolic or over dramatic. It would be a total disaster if they don't advance anybody on and Michigan State loses to a Mississippi team. An Ole Miss Rebels team.
Oh God, why did you have to put it in my mind? Oh God, right. Like why, dude? The thought is so disgusting, and I don't know what I would do. I mean, you're right, Michael. I don't think the SEC would, I don't think the average SEC fan is going to talk shit to an average Big Ten fan, but. The problem is it's going to be on the TV. It's going to be on ESPN. Those SEC dick suckers are going to be trying to stick their dicks down our throats and make us choke on that shit. We cannot let that fucking happen.
Let's conclude with that thought right there. The SEC or the ESPN is doing everything they can to pump the SEC. The SEC crashed and burned in football the last 2 seasons. And they've got to try to promote their product. And so they are going full court press on SEC basketball. They've been pumping it nonstop. And the ESPN never ceases to be amazing or, I won't say amazing. They never cease to be annoying, with their SEC propaganda.
Yeah, man. Is it, I guess this is like sidebar topic here, but, I think the Big Ten has actually positioned themselves better in the long run with the networks. Yeah. When it comes to sports, we're not going to be at the vanguard of the discussions because of ESPN. But in regards to making money, like we have NBC, we have CBS, we have Fox. Like they only have ABC and ESPN. That's it. That's it for them. They're not making as much money as we are.
Yeah, Jim Delaney played the long game. He went with the Big Ten Network. He gave ESPN the middle finger years ago. It was a public relations nightmare for years. We went through the dark years of the Big Ten after that, where not only were they not very good, ESPN did everything they possibly could to constantly let everyone know that they were not very good and to just endlessly and shamelessly promote the SEC. And obviously the SEC had a lot of success during those years, but the long game paid off for Jim Delaney and the Big Ten. The idea was get cities, get big population centers, and get those dollars coming in through the Big Ten Network. And now it is by far the richest conference between the Big Ten Network and all of the aforementioned TV deals that you just spoke of. And in today's game in football, it's a lot about money, and the money is leveling that playing field. So little tip of the cap, little salute to Jim Delaney for his foresight. I certainly doubted him at times, but it has paid off.
Wow. Yes. And that's great. Now, can we use some of that money to make our basketball teams better? Can we win a basketball national championship? I mean, honestly, I don't think we're going to get it done this year.
No.
And including this year, it's been 25 fucking years, Michael. It's been 25 fucking years since we won a basketball title. I know the Big Ten has won 4 championships in the 21st century in football, because we have us in 2002, 14, and now 24, and Michigan in 23. So that's still like not a lot. Like I want like, in 25 years, I want like 7 or 8 titles if I'm the Big Ten, not like 4. Like I want more. And then in basketball, I want like 4 or 5. Like I feel like basketball should have won like 4 or 5 by now, between Ohio State in 2006, Wisconsin in 2014, Illinois in 2005. And I would say, I guess those 3 should have definitely won. But yeah, man, just, I don't know, man. Basketball, like there needs to be like a super elite team. Like the way Duke's built this year, why can't a Big Ten team be fucking built like that? Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, you would think a national championship a decade for an entire powerhouse conference like the Big Ten would be like very doable. But I mean, you're right.
It was like that until we hit the 21st century, man.
Yeah.
It was like literally like right when we went to the year 2000, it was over. Like we won in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, the 60s, but not now. Not now. I don't know. I don't know what changed, but something did, something bad. I think a lot of it's the coaching, but some of it's the top end talent. I don't know. You got to have both. I mean, like, to win a national championship, you have to be good everywhere. Coaching, talent, execution, and you have to have a little luck. But I mean, what is it the great John Madden said? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you're finding yourself unlucky a lot of times, you might need to look yourself in the mirror, because sometimes people make their own luck and they're in position. And if you're not doing the little things, then like things aren't just going to just magically happen.
Yep. Absolutely.
I have nothing else though, Michael.
I don't either. I think that's it. We are wrapping up right at about the 1 hour mark. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. And we'll be back with an episode again next week.
Cheer on the Big Ten. Cheer them on. We are in this together. This is the weekend. We have to come through. We have to come through. We have to win. Victor's valiant. Sparty on. Let's get it done.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys.